Alexander, how do you pronounce your name actually, bro? Because in
Robbie
Portuguese we
Barra.
say Alexandre.
Alexander
Robbie
Robbie
Barrow,
Barra.
there you go. Alexander, and everyone calls you by Robbie, right?
Yeah, well,
Or
everyone calls me
Alexander.
Alex.
Alex, mate, I remember you actually brought me down memory lane because you showed me some pictures of us on stage in the under 75s. I think it was like 2011 or 14 or something around there,
14, I'm pretty sure it
2014.
was, yeah.
Yeah, bro. And then, man, it brought back some massive memories. And obviously, along the way, you've had your journeys and I've had mine. And it seems like it's come full circle in alignment with because the work that I've worked on and the work that you've worked on seem to complement each other quite well. Like, I mean, they're not
100%.
mutually exclusive, but they're two very similar areas. And I just had to have you on because, like, as you know, with iAlpha Project, we talk about mindset, but there's one thing that I'm always very familiar with is the understanding that people need. A lot of us force ourselves into situations that we don't feel like, oh, we really want to do this. We want to do it this way. But really, it has to be almost like a relaxing to it. You almost have to flow into it. And the first thing you do is have to come back into yourself to balance that energy. So just tell us exactly what it is that you do when it comes to energy and nervous system resetting.
Yeah, so along the years, I've been a personal trainer, coach, prep mentor. Through this evolution of the last sort of 7 years, I've attuned myself to become a Reiki master. I do massage therapy. I've understood the principles and concepts of acupressure and the fascia system. So now, when I combine all of those areas together, I've created my own modality, which I call elevated energetics, where I become a nervous system reset specialist. So, where we are able to acknowledge the thought patterns, the limiting beliefs, and the things inside of us due to whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions, and situations that have happened in life that cause us to have the personality traits that we have, which then stop us from being more than we need to, or more than we are at that present point in time.
So, I mean, that to me makes perfect sense. And really, what you're saying is like it just recenters ourselves to take that accountability, but also to release the energies that we've held from the trauma that we actually haven't processed. And those
100%.
energies affect us at a neurological level physically, right?
Correct.
So when you talk
Um,
about a nervous reset, you're talking about working on those energies, which in turn resets the nervous system.
Correct. So, no matter how good or bad a situation has been within our life, our central nervous system, our fascia system remembers it. So, if there's been situations that our body hasn't felt safe in or been able to express properly, then our nervous system holds on to it. So, it could be as far back or as little as your parents saying no to you for something that you wanted as a kid, turned around and walked out of the room, and that creates an
Exactly.
abandonment issue. But
Absolutely.
then also
Yeah.
a self-worth issue because it's like, oh, I
Yep.
couldn't get what I wanted at that point in time. So it doesn't have to be anything overly traumatic at that same point.
No, exactly. Especially at that age, like you're still based on alpha level between up until about 6 or 7. So even if a mother says, "No, you can't get that because you don't deserve it. You've been naughty," they can affect their nervous system and how they perceive themselves. Obviously, when they're older, they can differentiate. Yes, okay, I understand what she means, but you're still carrying that energetic trauma as well, which is the conflict. So I
100%.
completely, yeah, bro, I get it, completely get what you're saying. But one thing that I find is really, really hard, like, and you've heard the lighthouse principle where we know we can't help people, we can just be an example, and whether people want to be helped or not, that's up to them. But
Hmm.
I do find that from my perspective, when I see this and I can see the changes and benefits it has, but the people that seem to need it the most are the ones holding on to the story tighter. So, based on your journey and your experience, what things can you say to someone like that, or give them the energy, or like making them just accept that there may be a different perspective to their story?
Well, it goes back to a post I put up recently. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So when we can understand that what we've been doing hasn't got us to the result that we want, we need to create a change. So whether or not it's the environments that we sit within, the people that we hang around, the music and the information that we listen to, the things that we watch, we've always got a way to level up. To take life to a new level, we need to change our perspectives. So, doing more from ourselves and looking deeper within will always allow reality to give us more from what we want. It again is that internal state.
Exactly, and is that what you want for yourself? Because like that's what most people say. And the thing is, I find that when like we use the word level up, let's ascend. But from layman's terms, when people hear that, it seems like, oh, there's going to be more work, and we all have to do work. But there's already this energetic feeling of like it's more work up and away. But really, it should be more work in and down, more inward, right? And I think that's the one thing
Ground
is
your
like,
energy to understand that level up that we need to have.
yeah, and basically the idea is like I don't need to improve on certain things I'm not. The only job you really have is to go deeper in yourself and understand yourself better. Like and that in itself is the level up where you start to then attract the things that you align with. And I think, I mean, we've all been victims of this. And when I say victims of the unaware of our subconscious, because there's things that we do purely out of reactive behavior and pain, and we think we're in control until we realize, oh shit, I wasn't, and then comes the guilt and all that type of stuff that we have to process and accept. But I think if we're in an unaware state, it's not your fault. You're like a child who just doesn't know any better. But once you become aware, now you're going to perpetuate the mistake. And I think that that's what people need to kind of like say, well, even if the environment is out to get me, I'm still the one who put myself in it.
Hmm.
I still created it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I always say to most people that I speak to, it's not about stopping life and its situations, because life's never going to stop handing you situations. It's not about trying to control these situations. We can only control the way that we react to these situations, so that way
Yep.
our reactions create a better perspective moving forward. But with that being said, the ability, or should I say, within the healing journey, I like to call it an onion. The more we peel back, the more we uncover. So going deeper
Yep.
again within ourselves. But where I like to say, when we peel back, we understand that little bit further. The more we peel back, the easier it gets. Like training, the more
Yeah.
bicep reps we do, the easier it gets. We can lift heavier things. So it's not
Yeah.
about trying to control the outcome. It's about creating the capacity within your nervous system to be able to deal with life and what it's got to throw at you.
And look, mate, you hit the head on the nail, because I think this is one thing why I'm so attracted to the work that you do is that people might see it as a quick fix or symptom regulator. I'm stressed, I'll go see Alex to get some breath work, calm myself down, but then they might step away for quite a while before they come back. Other people know they actually, their mindset is more processed, so it becomes a habit for their lifestyle. And I genuinely think is like sometimes we're unaware that we all say, yeah, I'm going to do some shadow work and inner work. But the deeper we go, the worse it gets, really, because we get to a point where we realize things that we liked, we were conditioned to like and be attached to, we're really deep inside. We never did. We associated another memory, another experience with that. So we start to learn like, fuck, I don't really like that. And then it's in those moments that the energy starts to shift, because your ego kicks in and then becomes that energetic battle that leads to stress and stuff. Plus life is happening at the same fucking time.
Exactly.
And that's when people think, well, I'm doing the work, I don't need to. But the energy has to be constant while you're doing the work. It's like
Definitely.
an absolute necessity.
100%. What I do and how I try to teach people, especially through my mentoring programs, you come see me, we release the body, we release the energy and things like that. But it's all of the little tasks and accountability that you need to do day to day that creates the habits. So as we know, it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So if you can do something for a month, then you shift that mindset perspective. If you tell yourself that you're worthy of receiving something for a month every day, you're going to be able to shift that perspective in that energetic field within you that allows
Yeah,
that to happen. They might sound silly to the typical person, but these are the things that are wired, as you said, into our subconscious frame that makes us believe that we're
exactly.
not worthy enough to receive it or whatever the case may be. So we just have to rewire it. It's about
Ma-
doing those things consistently and then just doing it again for the next level of your life that you want to receive.
Reprogramming.
100%.
And that's the thing. It's like in order to, so I don't know how to put this in a layman's way, when you're actually doing the work and you're in that situation where you're confronted by an environment that would create an old reactive behavior, okay, and you are aware that you have a reactive behavior, you're trying to control it, but human nature, it becomes that self-preservation, and with an habitual behavior that you've done over your years, it's going to come up and you're going to try and hold it, and there's going to be a force of energy where you're dealing with that, and then you're struggling within yourself, so sooner or later it's going to pop.
100%.
And this is where I think is like, we're aware we're doing the work, but then we feel like we're failing, but the only thing we're failing at is, it's in those moments that I think you need to go back to your training, where you go, okay, hold on, I can feel it, now comes the breath work, now I come with the mental relaxation. And that's when it becomes in handy, or where you can learn to release and meditate, and in that moment, so that you have time to calm your reaction and then process your response.
Definitely, 100%. We've all got those, call them safety nets, that we go back to. Like, don't get me wrong, as I said, I'm only human. I still have overreactive behaviors in situations, and the biggest part about it is, if I overreact in a situation now, I catch myself in it or just after it, and I rectify my problem. And it's usually with my kids, and they frustrate me or whatever the case may be. But the ability to identify it before it even gets there, as you say, before it erupts like the volcano, you need to see your patterns and what your triggers are, and how your body feels before it even gets close to that point.
Absolutely. Mate, like, I'll share with you, I've had this personal experience. Like, obviously, we've had our fair share of relationships, and every time I've actually grown more and more, because I do some inner reflection. And I guess I'm just as guilty as the next person, but I am ashamed to say that I've been confronted by my own reactive behavior and realized that I was a cause of a lot of issues that I had in my past. And it wasn't about changing myself in order to make my partner happier. Was about changing myself so no matter what situation I'm in, I'm happier. Like, I want to control my own emotions, not allow somebody else to do that. But I realized that in some situations I was really good at finding my response. I was calm, I was compassionate. My kids saw an example of it, and they complimented me, and they said, "Dad, the person that you are." And it's inspired them to take accountability at school with their teachers and friends, and always self-reflect, because we can only make ourselves happier. And I've had an experience with the loss of my brother and some personal issues with family that were really bad and brought up abandonment issues, abuse issues, stuff like that. And in dealing with my partner, I found she mirrored those traumas to me. She's not the same people, but I was having the same reactive behavior. And I was very much aware of that, and I would share that with her. But what I realized, like, is at the same time, I was more reactive purely because I hadn't fully processed or released that stuff. I had managed it, but if I had completely released that, then I may not even have had that associative reactive energy come through. So as much as we think we're doing the work and we're kicking ass, there's always a few pebbles still left to pick up and throw out, that we have to release. 100%. So, which brings me to my next question. Like, this is why I love your work. So the work that you do, I would like to know something about you that nobody else knows, but you wish people did, which has led you to doing the work you're doing.
The constant pushing of my mental state and its ability through my physical body. Whenever I was told that I can't do something, I found a way to make sure that I was able to do it. So before I became a personal trainer, I was an electrician. I worked on the tools for 2 and a bit years, only did about a year or so into my TAFE apprenticeship on the study side of things. Working on a Saturday, destroyed my knee coming down a ladder. Worked on it for 3 months and destroyed it. I ended up having 3 knee operations. My last one was an experimental operation that they took out the cartilage and ligaments in the second operation and regrew artificial ones and stitched it back into my knee. Yeah. So then I was locked in a leg splint for 12 weeks at 180 degrees, so I couldn't bend my leg. Put on close to 20 kilos because I was just eating a loaf of bread every day in bed, watching TV, just being a fat, lazy shit.
Just depressed.
Yeah, 100%. That was when I went through my first bout of depression, anxiety, and suicide attempt. To be honest, I went through
Yeah.
big suicide ideations. But the doctors told me back then that I wouldn't be able to do anything physical with my leg. They said, find a desk job and good luck with whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I signed myself up into a gym. I lost all the weight. I realized how good I could feel. Rehabbed my own knee, then took me into the personal trainer life, and that was the biggest factor. You tell me I can't do
Yeah.
something, I'm going to do everything to prove you wrong.
Yeah. And now it's probably shifted where you do it because it's just who you are.
100%.
You
And that
know,
was
it's like there's becoming that awareness. You know, people will look at a guy like you, and I've been in the same shoes where that's true strength. True strength is sitting in the fire when everybody wants to get out. And you might be screaming, you might be crying, you might be in pain, but you're still in the fucking fire. And then you learn how to manage that. Then you learn get to a point where you're no longer expressing it. Then you get to a point where you're actually quite comfortable in it. And then you choose to be in the fire because that's when you know you're at your hardest.
you're
You
growing
know,
every time you're there.
and it's one of those qualities that we very rarely see. People that are inside the fire are the ones to make a marriage last, or the ones who keep working on it. They're the ones who will never give up on their kids. Where nowadays you'll see people from an emotional reaction, they just so like at the end, leave a job, just because they're just not comfortable or someone said the wrong word, and then that to me doesn't show commitment to self. So what you've done to me is one of the qualities that I think we need more of.
Thank you. I really put it down to the bodybuilding side of things that I did for many years. It created discipline, consistency, resilience. And I purposely prepped in season B every year. So it was over my birthday. So I didn't have to celebrate my birthday. Everybody would ask me out. I wouldn't cheat on my meals. Like, if you tell me I need to do something, I'm going to find the hardest way to do it, to push myself in every mental aspect, physical aspect, and everything else.
Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah, exactly. It was never really about winning and coming first for me. It was about just becoming better than the year I did before. If I could do it quicker, easier, or whatever.
Yeah, look, and that's the same thing. I was it was a Jordan Peterson, I think, was talking to a guy who was a Navy SEAL, and he pretty much said, I'm not sure if it was Jordan Peterson. I've got him in my head. Anyway, he was saying to the dude, why are you so proud? Like, what do you do? He goes, I'm a SEAL. I'm a Navy SEAL. So why is that special? And he goes, because of the training. He goes, it's not because of the career. It's because of what you had to endure to become a SEAL. And now that you've done that, there's a certain aspect about yourself because you've proven to yourself that you're a beast. And then it doesn't matter which SEAL you are. You might have different ranks, but every SEAL's a SEAL. There's no competition. You're just a warrior. You're not a soldier, right? And I think the same thing is the same aspect when it comes to our spirituality. That sort of quality is something that people don't recognize, and then sometimes it confronts them, and I think it comes with an insecurity that we then believe the story that we're being told, that we push too hard. Why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. And but navigating that then goes back to the work that you do, because that used to create a negative energy where now it's actually a process energy, and you can actually see people are just responding for their own subconscious and their own energy. It no longer affects you.
Yeah. Back then, I processed thoughts, feelings, emotions with training. I wouldn't leave a session until I couldn't walk if I was doing legs or whatever. So sitting with your demons in the gym. Now I sit with whatever demons come up, thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because I make them my best friend. That's really the
Absolutely.
best thing. If you can't talk to them and understand them, then they're always going to be scary for you.
And the only reason they're scary, bro, is because they're not getting attention.
100%.
When you actually confront them, you realize, fuck, you're not that big. Like, you're actually quite a small little problem. It's just you've got a loud bark.
Exactly that. And it comes back down to, I guess if you want to put it, I say most of us adults are really just the little kid that needs attention living in an adult's body. So the
Yep.
reason why it's so scary is because the little boy or little girl inside of us still hasn't dealt with the fear or the insecurity of having to deal with something and feeling safe. We are still
Exactly.
that little person in an adult's body dealing with the emotions that we haven't dealt with as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And and as an adult, whatever happens to us, that kid still gets affected by it. because and so they're just growing bigger with more pain and more pain until you actually stop and give them a hug and pick them up and recognize what it is that they need, and maybe even to say to them, look, kid, your story's slightly twisted. That's not really what happened. I know that's what it looked like. And that just in itself will make a massive difference. You know, like
100%.
the simplest things. Kid wants his mum, she has to hang the washing. He might feel abandonment. No one's fault, right? And I think this journey has also helped me to be a lot more open and vulnerable with my kids about my reality and my reactiveness. And I always questioned whether I was doing the right thing, because people said, oh, you shouldn't tell them that much. You shouldn't be, you know, like protect. And I was like, I wasn't protected as a kid. I think I was conditioned, because the adults growing up used that as an excuse to say to themselves, we want to keep the illusion that we know what we're doing.
100%.
Not that they're fucking trying to protect you. So I think I will challenge any adult who's a parent not to reflect that on themselves and actually get to that point. And the reality is, for myself, I thought, no, I didn't get guidance on how to manage my emotions. I didn't get the example. I got taught how to have conditioned behavior. So with them, I tell them, this is my thought process. I think it might be because of this. It might be because of that. When my daughter talks and she says, I had this, okay, stop. What happened? Where were they? Why did that upset you? Why? I go back into her. So now she's got that habit. So
it's an internal dialogue.
It's an internal dialogue.
Yeah.
So before you even react, or you're feeling angry, you process the emotion, say, well, that person made me angry. But then you don't blame the person, you blame the feeling. It's like, my brain made me angry by what that person said. Why did my brain make me angry? And you continue to...
Yeah,
you know,
which
and
goes back... Sorry.
No, and that's the thing. Kids nowadays, they don't. The moment they feel some sort of stress or negativity energy, like maybe being up in a jungle gym or not being allowed to go play, parents want to comfort rather than help them process. And I believe if the parent was doing the work, they might feel the benefit of that release, and that man, it's actually not that big a deal. And 100%. If you have that energy when you talk to a kid, you watch them right away, bro, just calm right down, right? Because your energy's calm. So they just responding. They freaked out. You're not. They just go, oh, cool, we're safe.
It's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, no. And there's no situation that will ever be as bad as your negative response to it.
100%. On what you were saying with the kids, my son's 10, my daughter's 8. But I have to speak to them like adults, because if I speak to them like little kids, they actually show me disrespect, because I'm not speaking to them the same way that they see me speak to everybody else. So I'm very open and expressive with my kids. Some may say that I'm too open and expressive with my kids.
I get that.
But if they can learn it now at this age and understand their thoughts, feelings, and emotions and the processes that they have to do at this age, then they're not going to suffer when they hit 30 or whatever, when everybody hits depression and anxiety and everything else.
You know, I had this discussion with some friends, and one of them said to me, I think you're too involved and you're on top of your kids. And the reality is, in my ripe old age, I've learned enough not to personalize it. And my first feeling was like, wow, this is coming directly from their experience as a child and how their parents were. So he perceives my behavior as controlling. It has nothing to do with me. And in fact, I said, oh, look, I can understand where you get that perspective, but I do feel like I want to give you a hug, because you don't realize that I'm not actually on top of them. I'm next to them saying, I'm right here. And whatever you need, I'm not here to solve your problem. I'm here to support you solve your problem. And there's nothing that you haven't done that I haven't done. There's no silly mistake or any pain that I haven't done. You might do something different that I haven't, but I've done something the other way and we've had the same experience. So just because I don't like it, it's coming from a place of love. And our only job is to support each other, to choose to be happy in whatever environment we find ourselves in. And to me, my son, I'm the first person he calls if he has something to talk about. And he'll take his time, he'll process it, and then he'll ring me. And to me, I haven't go, oh, what's going on with your day? Why don't you share? You should do this. And when I talk to him, I go back to him. What do you feel? Why would you want to do that? Is there a reason for it? Where's that reason coming from? So I said, what, Dad, you can be, no, I just want you to really go into yourself and do what's best for you, not what you think I want or your mother or your fucking boss or your girlfriend, what you want. And you have to process it because you have to deal with the consequences. So just
100%.
center, and so to me, that's what I think kids would be more of if they could see, I can talk to my dad because he's a living example of what I'm doing. He's just at a
Definitely.
different level.
100%. Um, Everything in life happens through a 7 year cycle. So whatever we don't process and deal with in that first 7 years of life will happen every seven years. It just won't happen the same way. It will bring up the same situations and feelings for you, so that way you can acknowledge it and process it.
Yeah.
So again, I feel one of the big things where I wanted to touch on before when you said as well, where we say we're doing the work. The issue I find with a lot of people is we do a lot of mental understanding. So it's like, oh, we can process that this is an abandonment wound, it's a self-worth issue, it's an anger, frustration issue or whatever, and pinpoint to an area of where it was related to in our life.
Yeah.
Every time we peel back that layer, we need to find and uncover another reason why that little bit further is, which is why I say our triggers are actually a blessing.
I
Because the
agree.
reason why we have that trigger is to show us more of what we need to acknowledge within ourselves.
What's
So
it say?
when these
Relationships aren't there to make you happy, they're there to make you conscious.
100%.
Exactly what you just said. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, so it's about understanding those patterns and responses that we have and why we still live within them. So again, where we have this mental understanding and awareness, we do it on one layer of our being. I say our being's made up of four fundamental pillars. We've got our physical body, we've got our mental body, we've got our emotional body, and we've got our energetic body. So
Yep.
if we've got our energetic state, or sorry, our mental state all the way up here, but our physical state and nervous system is still down here, we've got too much room bouncing in between, which is why we feel like we're going up and down like a yo-yo.
It makes perfect sense.
If we bring our energetic state to our physical state, which is then in line with our emotional state and our intellectual state, then we can rise as a being completely, like the
Because
links of
then
a
we
chain.
balanced. Because then we
Correct.
balanced. Yeah.
That's right. Like the links of a chain. If one link is broken, the moment you pull on it, it's going to snap. So if we
100%.
create all links to be extremely strong, just as strong as the weakest link, as the saying goes, you can only
Yeah.
be as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah.
Make your weakest link the strongest, bring it to the next level, bring it to the next level. So as we bring our level up, we're bringing our mental awareness, our physical awareness, our energetic and our emotional awareness to the same level.
Mate, so I'm going to paraphrase that for somebody that's never done spiritual work, because I literally had this discussion because I was trying to get this concept across to one of my clients.
Yeah.
And I use the same analogy, but instead of the different levels, I use the different exercise. You want a healthy lifestyle? It's nutrition, it's weight training, it's moving, it's meditating, it's getting to bed early, all these things. And he often complains, bro, I'm doing the work and I'm doing this and I'm sticking to the diet. I get to my training sessions and I do my check-ins. I'm like, bro, a check-in isn't any work. Check-in is more work for me than for you. Like, you're not, just because you do a check-in doesn't mean, I've done the work, I did my check-in.
Yeah.
The work comes in showing up to sessions, which he does. But does he do his walks? Does he do his meditation? No, he doesn't. And I'm like, bro, so he's like, can we up the sessions? Can we change my diet? So it's all the stuff he's already doing. And I'm like, no, bro, fix the weakest link. Go to bed early. Get some
100%.
walking. Do that. And then when you do that, once that's at that level, then see, chances are everything will level up. But you fix the weakest link, you'll be in a better mood for your family. You'll be more positive with yourself because you've kept promises to yourself and you actually find the joy of getting up and smelling fresh air for a change. You look forward to
Definitely.
breakfast you digest. So I switched the analogy to that. And he was like, oh, I was like, that's the same thing with our spiritual work and our internal work. Whatever you're failing at, if you don't meditate and you don't have any quiet time, that might be the first thing you need to do more often of. Just to bring yourself back to center so that you can get the motivation to go and do your breath work, go do your walks, go do your ice baths. So it's very much the same analogy, but in a different context, right?
100%. And where you said that, I always say stillness is where you'll find the answers to the questions you never even knew you needed to ask.
Mate, spot on. I love that. That's exactly because that's when you connect to your higher self too, in the
Correct,
stillness.
100%. No
And that's
distractions.
when, yeah. And oh fuck, if you had more connection, the questions wouldn't be a surprise. Bro, I want to thank you so much for your time. I do want to get you back on if you prepare for it. I would like to touch on your personal journey and how it actually affected you and brought you to the work that you did, with a little bit of emphasis and honestly talk about your experience with the suicidal thoughts in mind, because it got to a point where I actually thought if I was a real man, I would end my own life. So the stories we tell ourselves and our ego, and I would love to have that because I think there might be some people that would benefit from that. But
I'm more than happy to speak about my story because the vulnerability that I allow myself to share is what others find the strength in being able to step in for themselves. Especially for us men, it's hard to find the courage to start doing the work, but knowing that there's many of us out there doing it, and it's not as hard as it all seems to be, and they've got the support that they need. If it helps one extra person, I'm more than happy.
mate, and the reality is, like, I've been in my ego before and done the man work and hard training, hard martial arts sessions, hard bouts, and you feel good, you feel great, you're hanging with the boys. But when you do this type of work, it's a whole different level of alpha. It's like the calm alpha. It's like the energy where, and any guy you see doesn't feel intimidating, just feels like a brother because your energy has just got that. And I think that's a good place for men to be in and work through this. And there's a lot of guys out there that have these thoughts but don't really express it because they're stronger than they need to be. You know,
Being conditioned, as you said, to hold it in instead of express it.
exactly. And they're fucking beasts for holding it in, man. But it's a large weight to carry.
Definitely.
Brother, if anyone wants to find you and hit you up for some training sessions, how do they go about doing that?
Instagram is probably the easiest way. The Alpha Era and Elevated Being as well is my business page. Facebook is Alessandro Robibaro, which is my Italian name that I use on there.
Nice.
All details are on my bio and things like that.
Fantastic, brother. Well, much love, and we'll definitely have you up here in Queensland and we'll run one of those sessions. Much
Definitely, I
love,
look
brother.
forward to it. I thank you for the opportunity as well, and thank you for the space.